Balak. Okay. We are on Perik Chaf Beis. Pasuk, pick it up on about Pasuk Chaf Ches again. Chaf Beis Chaf Ches. So Bilam is riding along, and he's got these officials with him. And then it says on page 860. Page 860. So 3 times the donkey has veered off the path, and we said yesterday that it represents the 3 opportunities to turn back. When, did I say it yesterday? Did I mention that yesterday? When in a wider area it's easier to turn back. I mentioned that. It's easier to turn back, then it's narrower, and he pushes his foot against the wall, and Bilam hits him with the stick. And then Pasuk Chavcha, 6 lines to the bottom. Vayiftach Hashem es piha oson, Hashem opens the mouth of the donkey. Vatomer lebilam mea sisi lechakiki sani shalosh regalim. Why did you hit me 3 times? If you look at Rashi here, shalosh regalim. You hit me 3 times. Now what does shalosh regalim remind you of? The 3 holidays. So why does he use that's a funny turn of phrase, the 3 regalim? If you take a look at Rashi over here, it's the left column of Rashi, 6 lines to the top. Zeh shalosh regalim. Ramazlo, he was hinting to him. Now it's obviously not the donkey hinting to him, it's Hashem hinting through the donkey. Donkey isn't thinking. Ata mevakesh lakor uma, you're trying to uproot a nation. Hachogeges shalosh regalim b'shana. You're trying to uproot a nation that celebrates 3 holidays in the course of the year. What does Rashi mean? What does that mean? What does it sound like Rashi say? There are 3 festivals. What? No, there are 3 regalim. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are not called regalim. Sukkot, Pesach, Shavuos are called regalim. Because you're Ola l'regel, you go up by foot to Yerushalayim, people would be Ola l'regel. Okay, so what it sounds like at surface level, is he's saying to them, listen, the Jewish people have a very big merit. You're not going to succeed in uprooting them because they have 3 holidays in the course of the year. Right? That's what it sounds like. What's the obvious question? What? Ma Kesher, what do you mean by Ma Kesher? Ma Kesher, gentlemen, is the Israeli way of saying. The Israelis are saying it has various meanings. Ma Kesher is like either means what are you talking about, or it means I'm not interested in doing that. It's like when you say to your kids, could you fold the laundry? Ma Kesher. It could be used. It's like in South African you say how's it? You say is it? In South Africa, you can say, "Is it?" Respond to anything. I was driving the other day. I got a ticket. Is it? They'll say, "Is it?" to anything. So Ma Kesher in Hebrew is like what's the connection? Literally, what's the connection? What do you mean by that, though? What?
Well, you could have said anything. Why did they say that?
Excellent. In other words, you're trying to wipe out a nation that has the 3 holidays, that celebrates 3 holidays. Yeah, they also put on tefillin, and they also keep Shabbos, and they also fast on Yom Kippur, and they also, they bring sacrifices. Why are you picking on the 3 days? Why is that the thing that Bilam should realize? Well, since the Jewish people celebrate 3 holidays, you haven't got a chance against the Jewish people. Why should that be the thing? Anything can happen at Ohr Somayach, Okay, Elijah. Okay, Elijah. So what's that?
Didn't they only do social regalim after the temple was built?
Right, but he's talking about in the future that they have the mitzvahs. So there are different explanations here among the commentaries. One of them is that when the Jewish people went up, I think it's who says it, the Meshech Chochmah, that the Jewish people, when they kept the 3 regalim, they went up to Yerushalayim, they left their borders completely open. All the men folk from Israel, all converge on Yerushalayim. All the men go to Yerushalayim. And you're leaving the women and children at home, unless some of the children are a little older, they go with the fathers, but otherwise the women and children can stay home. The borders are completely unguarded. And yet the Torah promises you're not going to be invaded. When you go up to Yerushalayim, you're not going to be invaded. And since you're not going to be invaded, even when the borders are open, he's telling Bilam, you haven't got a chance against these people. Even when there's nobody to guard them, It's money. Money you can interrupt. You can interrupt for money. Thanks, Kobe. Don't worry. That's just an illegal drug deal. Don't worry about it. It's I won't tell if you don't. So the what do you call it? Even if the borders are open, the Jews are in the most vulnerable state. They're going to be safe. So you think you're going to be able to go and curse them? That's what the Meshech Chochmah says. There's another deeper explanation here from the Shem Mishmol, one of the classic Hasidic commentaries. It says like this: Bilam represents 3 negative traits. In Pirkei Avos, he says he's got an ayin ra'ah, ruach gevoah, and nefesh rechava, which means that he is the 3 cardinal character traits, which we've spoken about in the past. Kina, which is envy, taiva, which is desire, and kavod, which is honor. And he's out of control in all these areas. That's his pursuit. What do the 3 regalim represent? Pesach was when the Jewish people showed their loyalty to God. They sacrificed the God of the Egyptians, right? They sacrificed the Egyptian idol. And we said that the opposite of the pursuit of your own honor is submitting to God. So Pesach corresponds, it's the equal and opposite of that negative trait of Bilam, which is the pursuit of honor. Because submitting to God means that if we set our own honor aside, we have to set our own ego aside. We have to submit. So Pesach represents the opposite of honor. Taiva, which is uncontrolled passion and desire, there's only one way to control ourselves when it comes to passion and desire, which is Torah. The Gemara in Kedushin says, Barasi Yetzer Hara, I created the evil inclination, Barasi lo Torah tavlin. The only antidote for a person who is consumed with desire is to study Torah. Torah neutralizes it. Even more, when a person's in a state, in a real fit of passion, you feel that the Yetzer Hara is burning inside you, don't you? You feel like it's burning like a fire. Sometimes we just feel it's burning like a fire. Well, there's an old saying, you fight fire with fire, right? What's the Torah? The Torah was a white fire on a black fire on a white fire. That's what Torah itself is, Aish. Torah is considered fire.
What does that mean? Where does that come from?
There comes, there's a Kabbalistic, there's a source in the Zohar that says that the Torah, when it was originally existed, before it was given to man, existed as a black fire on a white fire. The print is black fire and white fire. But even more, if you want to turn back to any page in the book, keep your finger on the place here, turn back to any page in the book of Bereshis. It doesn't matter. People can open randomly to any page in the book of Bereshis. Doesn't matter where. If you look all the way on the top right corner on any page, it says Sefer Bereshis, right? It says Sefer Bereshis. Now, the word Bereshis, if you look at that word Bereshis, which is the first word in the Torah, take a look at the first 2 letters and the last 2 letters. Combine them. Beis Resh and a Yud Taf spells out bris, which is a covenant. And the 2 middle letters is what? Aish, fire. The Torah is a covenant of fire. So the only way to control passion is with fire. You fight fire with fire. Which holiday is the holiday of Torah? Shavuos. Shavuos is when we receive the Torah. So that's the second one of the 3 regalim. And what is Sukkot? Kina. Kina means envy. When you're jealous of somebody, else, you know what jealousy really is? Jealousy means you're angry at God for the way he's running his world. That's what jealousy really is. I'm upset with God that you got the money and I don't. That's what jealousy really is. How do you control, what's the ultimate way to control jealousy? Is to strengthen one's trust in God. I trust that you're running the world the way the world's meant to be run. So the way you control, if you're jealous just means I'm not happy with the way God dealt the cards over here. If you trust that God's dealing the cards properly, and even when a person's got aggravation, or even when a person is lacking something, and you realize that this is for the best, and a person understands that when a dentist is drilling, and he's causing him pain, it's obviously in his own benefit. So if God brings a little bit of pain, so that's for a person's benefit, that means complete total trust in God. Which is the holiday of trust? Sukkot. Because what do? You build this flimsy shack with a what do you call it? With the schach on top. Symbolically that we're going out, we're putting our trust in God. So the opposite of Kina is Sukkot. So you have Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, which are the 3 regalim. So what the message from the donkey to Bilam is, you're trying to wipe out a nation that keeps the 3 holidays. It means you're trying to impose your values of life, which are kina, taiva, and kavod. You're trying to impose your values on this nation, which stands for the opposite of kina, taiva, and kavod. Not going to work. Not going to work. That's the first thing the donkey is saying to Bilam in 28. Vayomer Bilam la'asot. So Bilam, 4 lines from the bottom. Vayomer Bilam la'asot. You know why I hit you 3 times? Ki hisalalpi, you mocked me. Lu yesh cherev biyodi ki atare. If I had a sword, I'd kill you right now on the spot. Now this makes him look like a real bozo. Because here he is, he's being hired to go and wipe out an entire nation only using his mouth. Yet for a donkey, he can't do it. He's got to have a sword. So the other guys are cracking up. They're trying not to roll. They're trying not to laugh. It's like something happened in class and you can't laugh. So you know. And these guys are all laughing. Listen to this guy. He can't even kill his donkey. He's going to curse the entire Jewish people, but he can't just give your donkey a curse. No, the donkey says, if I had a sword, I would kill you. Vatomer also no Bilam. The donkey says to Bilam, why? I'm your donkey. Asher rechavta lai me'odcha re'yom. You've always ridden me. Haskeni skanta sosachakov. Have I ever done this to you before? Been uncooperative? Vayomer lo. So no, you haven't. This is already, what does that mean? What that means is the donkey saying to Bilam, and again, this is God talking through the donkey. Hey, Bilam, you didn't see something strange over here? This is a donkey that you've trained since you've raised this donkey, you've trained the donkey, and the donkey's always been cooperative. And you didn't see that if the donkey is doing something strange, you should think, why is this happening? Sometimes in life you got to think, why is this happening? Why? That's especially, I told you yesterday, Bilam is a guy who's always reading signs. You're always looking for signs and omens, right? Certain people are always looking for, he's a, what do you call it? He's a sorcerer, and he always looks for whatever signs he can pick up. You don't see a sign, you at least think about it over here. You at least think about what's going on. That's the claim. At that point, Vayigal Hashem Eseine Bilam. Hold all the questions and comments for a few minutes because I want to get to something over here, then I'll take them all. Vayigal Hashem, I didn't say I'll answer them all, I said I'll take them all. I hope I could answer some of them. Vayigal Hashem Eseine Bilam, Vayaris HaMalach, Vayizmalach Hashem Nitzav Baderech, V'charbo Shlufa Biyado. Hashem opens Bilam's eyes and gives him the ability now to see the angel standing there, which is another message to Bilam. Your mouth's not under your own control, and your eyes aren't under your own control. And I told you yesterday that the Gemara says that we have so many spiritual demons, spiritual beings around us that we do not have the ability to see them, because if we could see them, we would go out of our minds, seeing how we're surrounded by the shadim. And from modern technology, we could appreciate that, because if you look in a microscope, there are a lot of things you see in a microscope which we can't see with our naked eye. So in the spiritual realm, it's like that too. We think we see everything. But in the spiritual realm, it's not like that. Do you know that there are Gedolei Yisrael, Rav Chaim Kanievsky, is actually Rav Shteyman, a group of guys, I'll get to hold the question for a few minutes. A group of guys came to Rav Shteyman to get a bracha. Guys who became Baal Tshuvas, they came to Rav Shteyman. And after they walked out, Rav Shteyman told one of the guys to stay around. So the group left out. One guy stayed. Rav Shteyman said, I think you need a bris milah. You need a bris. So the guy said, yeah, I actually never had one. So okay, they left. So they went to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, and they said to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, well, I guess Rav Shteyman must have Ruach HaKodesh, because how could he possibly know that? The guy, and then they picked the one guy and he died. So Reb Chaim Kanievsky says, listen, Reb Chaim Shteyman has Ruach HaKodesh, yeah, but this doesn't prove he has Ruach HaKodesh, because it's not that hard to look at somebody and know if he had a bris or not. That's what Reb Chaim said. Now, who's Reb Chaim talking about? I can't look at somebody and know if he had a bris or not, and most people can't. But the Reb Chaim Kanievskys of the world could see things that the rest of us don't see, and that's not necessarily Ruach HaKodesh. It's not Ruach HaKodesh. They're simply more in tune, the same way that somebody could look at art and see something that I don't see in a painting. So for people, they could see something because they have an appreciation for it. So in the spiritual realm, there are levels of different levels of appreciation. For it has to do with how much a person purifies himself. Which, by the way, that was why was Bilam, this whole idea of Bilam and his donkey, that Bilam lived with his donkey, that committed bestiality. What was that all about? I mean, the guy was just an absolute lowlife. The guy was what do you call it? He's one of these woke people. I mean, what was Bilam? What was going on over there? That Bilam was living with the donkey, and it has to be perfectly okay. And they even made a wedding cake or something. Well, what is that all about? The answer is that it's not just bestiality it's because the same way. How do you become a prophet? What is it required to get prophecy? Obviously, for a person to become intensely purified in all areas of Kedusha. The holier you are, and the more self-control a person exercises, the person rises in his level of holiness, Kedusha, and eventually he can get to a point where he can access prophecy. If a person trying to access the impure sources of spirituality, you also have to perfect yourself in purity and go indulge in various forms of impure behavior. Why do they always, in all these, all these various devil worship and there's always something about drinking blood. There's always something about drinking blood. Because you feel that that's a way of accessing these various forces of evil because somehow there's something spiritual, and there is, by the way, there is. That's what in the ancient the pagans did that. They drank blood, it's dripping down them like that. But at the end of the day, that's what Bilam. It's not just being out of control, passion in his passions. There's a method to this madness. He's trying to get to a certain thing, which is to access the various forces, the negative forces of spirituality. That's what he's trying to do. More. 1 second. Hold all the questions for a time being. Hold all the questions. I'll take questions. Vayomer lov malach Hashem. Second line to the top. It's 62. Can somebody just make it a little? Moshe, can make it a little colder in the room? All these forces of evil, they got me warm, they got me heated up. Don't make me drink blood, guys. Vayomer elav malach Hashem. Al mai kisa es asoncha zeh sholosh regolim. Why'd you hit your donkey 3 times? Hine anochi yitzasi l'satan. I went out ki yorata derech lenegdi. How does the article translate? Very, very difficult to translate it. How does the article translate? Why do you say, behold, I went out to impede, a good word, for you hastened on a road opposite me. I was impeding you. What are you hitting the donkey for? So we spoke yesterday about the idea that you've drawn the wrong conclusion here. The problem is not the donkey, the problem is you. You read the data and you came up with the wrong conclusion. Data can be interpreted different ways. You read the data. The data is the donkey keeps not cooperating. Why is he not cooperating? Because he's an incooperative donkey or because you're the donkey? Why are you hitting the donkey? Number one. Number two, you don't have a right to hit an animal. You only have a right to hit an animal. Animals are given to human beings to use. You can hit an animal if you're a human being because you have to sometimes hit the animal. You can't hit the animal if you're an animal. You know the Gemara, there's a statement in the Gemara that an uncouth person, an am haaretz, who's an uncouth, uneducated, completely uncouth person should not eat meat. The Gemara says, uncouth? I thought that you guys knew something. The uncouth means he's a crude, boor, just what do you call it? Redneck, he's just a very unsophisticated, a very, very crude person. And the Gemara says that's an am haaretz. An am haaretz doesn't have any sort of proper, no etiquette, no derech eretz. No. An am haaretz should not eat meat. That's what the Gemara says. An am haaretz should not eat meat. Why not? The animal is, why are we allowed to eat meat? Why are we allowed to eat meat? We're allowed to eat. Why should you be able to kill an animal? Why should a human be able to kill an animal? The idea is because humans are above animals, and the animals were given for us to use, but they're only given us to use because we're above them. If you're an animal, why should you be able to kill an animal? To the contrary, the animal's above you. A human being can think worse than an animal. Why? How's a human being worse than an animal? We've given a gift of speech. No animal in history, believe it or not, has ever insulted another animal. How do you like that? No leopard has ever insulted a zebra. Ha ha, you have stripes. Right? No leopard has ever insulted. No monkey has ever been insulted. You gorilla. right? He doesn't take it personally because he's a gorilla, right? Nobody says, "Wow, you're a dog," right? Oh yeah, I'm proud of it. No dog's ever been insulted. Once that and sound just hold for a couple of minutes. No dog's ever been insulted. And by the way, no leopard has ever spoken Lashon Hara. No, could you believe that? A human being does. We're worse than animals. Animals don't say. At least they may not be good. They also don't daven. No animal has ever is benched. No animal has ever benched. No lion has ever given a burp and said, "Okay, give me a bencher." That was some really good. That was some really good llama. Give me a bench. No lion. They don't bench. Okay, they don't do the pot, but they don't do the negative. So a human being is a lot. We're allowed to eat animals because we're above animals, but a human being can theoretically sink below animals. So Bilam, you're hitting the donkey. Number one, you shouldn't be in the donkey. You're an animal. You see you're an animal, you live with your animal. So you're an animal like him. Why are you hitting him? Number one. That's a side point. Look at the very next pasuk. Then we're going to come back to this. 2 more psukim. Then we're going to come back to this. So he says, number one, why'd you hit your donkey 3 times? Number 2, Vatera hason vatet lefanai zeh shalosh regandim. Angel says, the donkey saw me and that's why he veered off 3 times. Ulai natsa mipanai. Had he not veered off, had he not veered off, I'd keep it alive. I would have kept it alive and I would have killed you. But the donkey veered off. That's what saved your life. What's the angel say? Why'd you hit him 3 times? Number 1, you shouldn't be hitting. Number 2, 3 times? You didn't get it the first time what was happening over here? It took 3 times? It took 3 times for you to figure out what's going on over here and you still haven't figured it out? Even 1 time was more than enough. 3 times you hit the animal, you didn't get it? And number 2, there's something called tsar balei chayim. What's tsar balei chayim? Causing pain to living creatures. You're not allowed to cause pain to living creatures for no reason. You're allowed to kill a bug. You can't torture a bug. You can't go around hurting living creatures. So what the Torah really means over here, what's worse? Going off to curse the Jewish people or smacking your donkey? Which one is worse? Theoretically. Which one is a bigger crime? To curse and destroy the Jewish people or to hit your donkey? Yeah, I'd say so. When you want to wiping out a nation is generally frowned upon. Right? Wiping out nations is considered impolite. Right? And if you hit your donkey, that's also not right. What the Torah is teaching us is that there's no such thing as canceling out or absolving ourselves of responsibility. The Vilna Gaon there was a Jew who was an apostate. And this apostate somehow met the Vilna Gaon. I don't remember what the story was exactly. It was a Jew who went over to the other side. And he met the Vilna Gaon, and the Vilna Gaon gave him a cup of tea or something. So the guy picked up the tea, started drinking it. The Vilna Gaon said, you didn't make a bracha. So the guy said to a bracha? I mean, I worship idols, I commit adultery, I should make a bracha? The Vilna Gaon says, listen, I got news for you. For your other averas, for adultery and idol worship, you're gonna roast. But you're also gonna burn for not every time you didn't make a bracha. The fact that you do bigger averas doesn't mean it's okay to do little averas. And for every minute that you didn't wear tzitzis, and for every time you didn't put on tefillin, and for every time you're gonna get it for that also. The fact that you're a heretic or that you became an apostate, it doesn't absolve you from not fasting from fasting. You're also going to get it for not fasting on Yom Kippur. You're going to get it for every time you ate non-kosher food you're going to get it for everything. It doesn't absolve you. He's telling Bilam, yeah, you're going to curse the Jewish people, but you're also responsible for hitting your donkey. One more point. One more puzzle. I'll take the questions. Because this is the point I want to get to today. Because this applies to every one of us. V'yomer Bilam el malach Hashem, Chatasi, I've sinned. Ki lo yadati ki atani krasi. I didn't know that you're standing there. Ve'ata im rabbi necha shuvli. If it's really bad, if you're really upset, then I'll go back. But the way you really read this is, Chatasi ki lo yadati. My flaw is I didn't know. You didn't know? Now, this happens in life all the time. You didn't know? You see something on the table. I mean, didn't you guys go through this with your parents at some point or other? Where you say to your parents, but I didn't know that and your parents, well, you should have known. Like, you didn't know? You really didn't know? You were in class and you threw a paper airplane. You know, and you got in trouble. But I didn't know we're not supposed to throw airplane. Oh, you didn't know, huh? You really didn't know? You didn't know by this time you didn't know? Because it doesn't say in the rule books, no paper airplanes in class. Doesn't say that. You didn't know, you knew. Don't tell me you didn't know, you knew. And it happens all the time in life, that you do something, you take liberties, and you try to use I didn't know as an excuse. And Bill, I'm saying, but I didn't know. Then you're at fault for not knowing. That's why you're right. You didn't know? You should have known. It's one thing if I didn't know some technical, by the way, even in secular law, isn't there a rule? Ignorance is no excuse when it comes to law, when it comes to breaking the law. I didn't know.
Negligence.
What's that?
Negligence.
But you're still responsible. Right. You know, ignorance is not an excuse. I didn't know. Here, you didn't know. You really didn't know, Bilam. You who read omens, you who know that the Jewish people are chosen, you who follow God, you didn't know you're not supposed to be doing this, huh? You didn't know, because nobody told you. So you didn't know? You really didn't know, huh? Well, I saw this thing rolled up on the table. I thought it was a hand-rolled tobacco cigarette, and it turns out it was crack, right? You know. I didn't know. You didn't know. You didn't know that you shouldn't go lighting things up. It was what do you call? You shouldn't go lighting things up without figuring out what it is. You know, I saw this food on the table. I saw a package, and it had OR on the package, so I thought it was kosher. I didn't know. It said OR, which I thought stands for Orthodox. You know, so I ate it, or it had a K on it. It was like, you didn't know? I saw $20 on the table, so I took it. I thought it was hefker. You didn't know that maybe somebody left it there? I saw a wallet. You know, there it was on the table. I saw a wallet on there. I guess it was lost. Hefker. There's huge. You know, all the thumbs get twisted. Oh, you didn't know, huh? Oh, you didn't know? Did you ask? No, I didn't ask. I didn't know. That's why you're at fault. You're at fault for not knowing. I heard a story once. I love it. There's this woman. This woman bakes. They're making a sheva brachas. You know, sheva brachas is a wedding celebration. They're making a sheva brachas. So this woman goes and she bakes 80 little rolls for the sheva brachas. 80 homemade rolls because there are going to be guests coming. She knocks on her neighbor's door. She says, Chana, could I put my rolls in your freezer? There's no room in my freezer at home. So Chana says, sure. So she takes the rolls, she puts the rolls in the freezer. Okay, the next week, Rachel comes to the door. She says, Chana, can I get the rolls? I want to start defrosting, and tonight we have the sheva brachas. She says, sure. She goes to the back room. She opens up the freezer. There are 4 rolls in the freezer. She's like, well, like that. She, you know, that first feeling of panic. So she walks, her husband sitting there in the other room. She said, Herschel, did you eat those rolls? He says, yeah, me and the boys, we've been eating them all week. They were really good. Women have this unbelievable ability to yell without making a sound, right? It's remarkable. So she goes over to the door, and she's already crying. She says, Rachel, I'm sorry, my husband and my boys ate all the rolls. She goes, really? I hope they enjoyed them. She goes, aren't you upset? She says, no, why should I be upset? I baked them that somebody should enjoy them. What's the difference who enjoys them? Your husband enjoys them, I'll get more rolls, I'll bake rolls, I'll buy some rolls. What's the big deal? So I once told this story to a group of older ladies. So some lady in the back, she couldn't restrain her, so she goes, what a tzedekis! Just like that. So I want to tell you something. She's certainly a very nice lady. A very nice lady. You know who the potential tzedekis is here? You know who the potential tzedekis is? If that, ladies, you're all listening, if that Chana doesn't go back, she goes, oh, Rachel, wow, that's so nice of you. And she closes the front door. Then she comes back to her husband. If she does not give him an earful at that moment, that's a tzedekis. He made a mistake. He won't do it. He knows. And she doesn't go back and say, you nitwit, what were you thinking? And she just doesn't say anything. What's the expression? Get past it. Right? She just gets past it. That's a tzedekis. That's a real tzedekis. What did he do wrong? He saw rolls. When's the last time your wife baked rolls in the middle of the week for you to eat? You open up the freezer, hey, that looks pretty good. Now, when's the last time that happened? You didn't know? That's what the problem is. I don't mind that you ate the roll. I don't care that you eat rolls, but why were you thinking? Were you dropped on your head as a child? You thought that, when's the last time that I baked rolls for you in the middle of the week? That's the problem. That's what the claim is against Balak. That's what the problem is. You know how the story ends, don't you? You know how that story ends? She doesn't say anything. She doesn't say anything. And then at about 2 a.m, she sits up in bed. You nitwit, what were you thinking? Eventually it's going to come out. Eventually. Okay, it happens. Mistakes happen. I told you, I walk into the kitchen Thursday night, open up the refrigerator, a blueberry pie, right? Take out the blueberry pie, and what do you call it? Knock off the blueberry pie. The next day, wife says to me, last night there were 2 blueberry pies in the freezer, in the refrigerator. Now there's only 1. How did that happen? Well, it was dark in the room. I didn't see the second one. That was so, you thought I baked your rolls in the middle of the week? That's what Bilam's taken the task for. So now at this point, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, okay, now you want to go, then you're going to go, but you're going to say what I want you to say. You're not going to say what you want to say. You're going to say what I want you to say. And so Bilam goes off with them and with Balak. Now, I want to show you one last point over here. He goes off and he wants to curse the Jewish people. So Balak is in for somebody had a question. Yeah, go ahead.
At least in translation, it said that Bilam rode this donkey for his entire life. So it means not like the entire life of the donkey, entire life of Bilam. So how did the donkey came to him? Is there anything in Midrash?
It's about the Medrash said, how did he get the donkey? Apparently went to the donkey market. I don't know. He happened to pick the right one, and then I have no way of knowing. Oh, 1 second. I did skip a point though. I skipped a point. Go back for a second. It's an important point. I forgot this. In Pasuk Lamed Dalet, 6 lines to the top. Nisanel, you had a question. Jasper, you had a question. Yeah.
Yeah. Why does it seem like animals can always see angels?
Good question. And the answer is because the animals have a better sense of the spirituality, because human beings, again, the same reason, if we could see it, we would freak out. If we saw what's lurking around us. That's what the Gemara says. Not only that, do you remember the tsunami, that big tsunami that wiped out about 250,000 people? When was that? In Indonesia, that whole area over there. So they said that before the tsunami hit, the animals all headed inland. That's an amazing thing. The animals have a sense. Animals always have a sense. They take, what do you got? Something senses danger. Animals have a sense. Human beings also, the Gemara says, sometimes, the Gemara Megillah says, sometimes that we're afraid of something and we don't know why we're afraid. Something we're afraid. Now, we're not talking about if you walked into the south side of Chicago and you sense that you're afraid of something, you don't know why you're afraid. There's good reason to be afraid. You walk into North Philly and you're afraid. There's a good reason to be afraid. But sometimes in life, you're just walking around, something, you're bothered. Why am I afraid? The Gemara says, you don't see it, but your mazel sees it. Your mazel, call it a ministering angel or whatever you want, or your destiny senses that there's something not good in this situation. That's what the Gemara says. So when it comes to the animals do have that sense for the animals. Also have a sixth sense, but they have that sense for the occult. That's what the sources say. And because if we would see it, then we wouldn't be able to handle it. Now, 1 second, I want to show you this because I skipped this. Go back to Pasuk Lamed Gimel, 5 lines from the top. The angel says to Bilam, Vatirani ha'oson, the donkey saw me. Vatet lefanai ze shalosh regalim, it veered off. 5 lines to the top, 862. It veered off 3 times. Ulai notza miponai, had it not veered off, ki ata gam osacha haragti v'osachesi. Had it not veered off, I would have killed you and kept it alive. And based on that statement, the Gemara says, Rashi brings down, that the angel killed the donkey. Angel killed the donkey. Why does he kill the donkey? Why does he kill the donkey? So that brings us an interesting halacha. The halacha is, let's say somebody commits bestiality. Bestiality is a capital offense. In Torah, bestiality is a capital offense. The Torah says you execute the person and you kill the animal. Why do you kill the animal? The Gemara gives 2 reasons. The Gemara says, number 1, the animal was the stumbling block that caused this person to do the Aveira. We have to remove the stumbling block, number 1. Number 2, to avoid shame for him and his family. Because if the guy who committed bestiality is executed and the cow is still walking the streets, And if somebody looks at the cow and says, yeah, that's JoJo's baby over there, right? So that's going to be embarrassing to him, and it's going to be embarrassing to the family. And therefore, the animal is taken out of commission as well. That's what the Gemara says. Here, the donkey put Bilam to terrible shame. If people see the donkey around, if people see this donkey, then this donkey is going to be the sign. That's going to be a source of shame for Bilam. Therefore, the donkey has to be taken out of commission. Okay? Now, one last point. Bilam goes and he tries to curse the people. Balak has hired him to curse the people, and what comes out of his mouth is a blessing. So Balak is not a happy camper about that. I didn't hire you to bless them. Exactly the opposite of what. Exactly the opposite. Can you imagine Biden hiring a campaign manager who puts out posters, "Vote for Trump"? Vote for Trump. Biden is senile. Vote for Trump. Can you imagine a guy doing that? I hired you for exactly the opposite. You've done exactly. So what do you call it? So what does he do? The first two times it doesn't work. So then turn to page 2313. 866. Vayomer elav Balak. Balak says to Bilam, Lechna iti el mokom acher. Go with me to another place. 6 lines to the top. 6 lines to the top. This is after the first 2 times. Vayomer elav Balak. Lechna iti el mokom acher. There are 2 swings and misses. Let's see if we could. What do you go? Get a hit on the third one. Let's go somewhere else. Asher tirenu misham, where you'll see them from there. Ephes, where you'll see the Jewish people. Ephes katseyu tira, you'll see the edge of the people. V'kulo losir, you won't see the entire people. V'kavda li misham, curse him from there. So what does that mean? The first time you see the entire Jewish people, then the second time you see, now go where you only see the edge of the people. And you see the edge of the people, maybe now you'll be able to curse them. So what it means is that the Jewish people as a whole, if you compare us to other nations, how do we look as a whole? Oh, we're doing pretty good. Compared to other nations, the amount of violence and the amount of drug abuse and the amount of all various forms of ugliness, if you could take the Jewish people as a whole, take Bnei Brak, and compare Bnei Brak to any other group of people, we're doing pretty well. We're doing pretty good. You can't curse the Jewish people at that level. They look too good. They're too good compared to everybody else. What should you do instead? Look at the edge of the people. Edge of the people means we're not perfect. Look at those who are not quite as good as they should be. The extremists who do something in this direction, or the weirdos who join the Palestinians, who could supposedly be for religious purposes, and all the edges of the people. Yeah, we're not perfect, and this is so important to remember. We never claim to be perfect. If we're perfect, a person is only perfect if he's an angel or if he's dead. While as a human, we're not perfect. We have flaws. And if the Torah says don't do it, that means we're capable of doing it. That's why the Torah says don't do it. If the Torah says don't steal, that means we could steal. If the Torah says don't murder, that means we're capable of that too. If the Torah says don't commit adultery, we're capable of that too. And therefore, we're not perfect. We're good, we're great, we're wonderful. Do we have flaws? Yes, we're not flawless. We never claim to be flawless. And a very important, gentleman, I want to tell you, if you ever see, and you will see, if you ever see a religious, people say, how could a religious Jew go and embezzle? You're going to see that. You're going to see certain behaviors that may not be appropriate behaviors. If you ever see inappropriate behavior, it's not the Torah. The Torah is perfect. The people are not perfect. If you see a flaw in the people, that's because people are people. They're trying. They may be trying, and they may be trying a little bit, or maybe trying a little harder, maybe not trying enough. I don't know. But at the end of the day, if you see inappropriate behavior, that's not because there's a flaw in the Torah. It means there's a flaw in the people. There are people who speak Lashon Hara, and there are people who don't give enough tzedakah, and there are people who are inconsiderate, and there are people who don't put on tzedakah. There are all sorts of flaws. But as a group, when you look at us as a whole, compared to any other group, we're doing very, very well. When you look at the edge of the people, you look at the exceptions where people have their flaws, maybe there your curse will be able to take hold. That's what Balak says to Bilam. So we'll see next time in Mirza Hashem what actually Bilam sees, what the curse is, then we'll go on to Parshas Pinchas and Mirza Hashem.